Not So Live from Asteroid G, opening up a bar in an old lumber mill, I believe it was. I think that was what it was, a nightclub in a lumber mill,
Yeah,
former lumber
yeah,
mill, yeah.
yeah. They were out of cornfields, so they went with
Yeah,
the lumber mill.
yeah, it's fine. I'm your host, Mike Finkelstein.
Your buddy Mike the Ghoul here, gonna get in touch with his inner Irish jigging vampire, I think, right?
We both saw Sinners recently, and while that movie's been out for a little while at this point, we felt like
Mhm.
it was only appropriate to finally touch upon it because it's vampires and
Yes.
it's horror and it's also just really fucking good. So
Yeah.
the fact we hadn't
Yeah.
discussed it by now seems like a bit of a failing.
Yeah. Blame time and society and work and everything, but we were getting there for you, I promise.
So, Sinners, the movie
Yeah.
by Ryan Coogler, who has
Hmm.
directed a few things, pretty much all of them starring in some form or another Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, they're like boys, man. Like
Yeah, yeah.
Creed and everything,
He's the
and
director's muse. He's got to be in
yeah,
everything now. And while
yeah,
arguably the focus isn't on Michael B. Jordan's characters, he's basically the lead for the movie, effectively. He doesn't have
sure.
the main arc, but he is in two forms in every scene.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah.
mean, there's two of them, so I mean, it's a good job. Like, it's always kind of hanky and hokey sometimes when you see like one character playing twin brothers. Like, it doesn't always work for me, but I think he did a really good job here.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Tom Hardy in that movie he did about like the Irish gangsters and stuff. Like, very rarely can like a single actor pull off kind of two sides of a coin, especially
Mhm.
like twin brothers in a video
Mhm.
like that. But he did a
Mhm.
pretty good job. I was impressed.
I think it's most effective in a movie where they're going to be playing twins and it's not just like two
Yeah.
random characters that look the same. Like, there was a Robert De Niro movie that came out recently and abso-fucking-lutely bombed. And he played like two completely distinct characters that weren't related at all, and the fact that he was playing both of them was just because.
Bizarre. I mean,
Yeah,
double the paycheck, double the fun.
yeah, pretty much. I liked his performance in here because he at least managed to make them feel distinct enough that at a certain point I stopped thinking of them as both being
Yeah,
Michael B. Jordan. I mean, the
yeah,
costuming and so forth helped, of course, dressing them differently
sure.
and giving them different, like, slightly different, like, wardrobes and styles. But,
Yeah,
like, he definitely played them as two different personalities. And I think
right.
he probably, I don't know if he did the exact same thing that the actress from Orphan Black did, where she was, like, working to get into character and listening to
Mhm.
music and other things. But I think there was probably a lot of that kind of filming style involved with this to make each of them interact with the other and film it
Right.
a certain way to make that work.
It's got to be difficult, right, to like film the same scene twice from two
Hmm.
different angles
Hmm.
sometimes, and just confusing. Like, I'm sure there's got to be like multiple takes sometimes, like mixing up lines and everything. So, like, good job. Like, really, he's a quality actor. He's
He is.
he fan favorite from Black Panther. Killmonger,
Oh,
the villain who people loved at the end. It was pretty crazy. So he's got some good range. I haven't seen any of the Creeds, which I'm a Rocky fan,
watch the
so
first
it's
one. First one was
horrible that I have to say that,
good.
but I will. But I mean, like, I'm into it. Like, I,
Yeah,
I think Michael B. Jordan's a very good actor. I gotta watch Creed. I'm surprised I haven't yet, and I was impressed. I thought he did a really good job.
yeah. I like his performance in here, and I think everyone in the movie is fantastic.
They're
I
all
think
very
I
good.
mean Delroy Lindo is basically just playing Delroy Lindo, but that's fine because that's all you needed for him to be is Delroy Lindo. Like it was great,
Exactly.
yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
But I want to single out more than the acting, which is phenomenal in this movie, the direction,
Mhm.
which was so casually good that like you both noticed it and almost didn't notice it at the same time.
For sure. Yeah. Like, it was really well paced. Really
Mm-hmm.
well paced throughout, I thought.
Yeah. The thing that struck me early on, it was with Michael B. Jordan. It's that scene where the film is introducing the two brothers and
Yeah.
like they're just sitting there waiting for the white guy to show up so they can buy the property and one of them
Mhm.
rolls a cigarette, passes it to the other brother, he smokes it, passes it back, and they do that like two or three times and you're sitting there
Yeah.
going, the director wants us to think of these as two different guys and stop paying attention to the fact that it's Michael B. Jordan. And he does it in the most complicated shot possible without drawing any attention at all because it's both a really complex shot and they're
Mhm.
doing something so stupidly simple that you stop paying attention to how complex it is.
It's crazy, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the simple interaction right there,
Mm-hmm.
like it just kept like it was engaging,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not the biggest in like, dialogue and exposition and all that kind of stuff in a horror movie. And like I got thoughts about labeling this horror, which it was at times, but like,
I
we'll
agree with you
get
on that.
there.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
We'll get there. But it was overall a very good movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a really good job. And like right then and there, like to your point, you're like, wow, okay, like I'm noticing that this is gonna be, obviously they're going to have to be different, they're
Mm-hmm.
twin brothers, but
Mm-hmm.
you can already see like with their like, wow, this was not easy for him to pull off, and he did a really good job. And
Mm-hmm.
like, it's a lot of good praises for the lack of horror elements at times. There was a lot of really good direction and a lot of really good effort by the actors and the director to keep them in line and give them that direction.
I think it's a lot of people online have been calling this like an early awards contender, which I think
Sure.
is fair, and us not just for direction and acting, but for cinematography and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. Because like even on simple shots when they're just driving through the cotton fields and there's like
Hmm.
huge IMAX expansive vistas that you're watching at that are gorgeously shot, and they're just there as background for them to just drive through and
Yeah.
chat, and you're like
Yeah.
every shot is complex even when it's simple. Like we're not just
Mm.
talking like the big, and we're not spoiling anything here, but the big number in the middle of the movie that basically I liken it to From Dusk Till Dawning, the movie. There's before the musical number, there's
Hmm.
after the musical number, and then it's two movies mashed together at that point, more or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
musical number is hugely complex and so richly detailed, and it's amazing. But there's all
Hmm.
kinds of other shots leading up to it that are just quietly beautiful in their own respect. The sequence where the shop owner calls over his daughter, the daughter
Hmm.
walks out, and they continue having a conversation over ADR while the daughter walks off, gets the mom, and the mom walks back. And that's all a sequence that could have been the two of them in a 1-2 shot just chatting. And
Hmm.
we didn't
Hmm.
even have to see until the wife came back what was going on. But he uses it like this one take establishing shot for the town and for the wife and everything else. And it's just, you didn't have to do this, but I
Hmm.
appreciated that you did.
There's a lot of instances where that like doesn't work
Yeah.
in movies, and like it
Mm-hmm.
feels like the scene is like
Too
edited poorly
stagey.
or
Yeah.
missing something.
Yeah.
But it was really, I think it was a combination of like the blending of the two different cameras they used. I watched a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about this after the fact, and they shot in IMAX, and they also shot in like a different kind of camera. I
Mm-hmm.
can't
Mm-hmm.
remember the name of it,
You can see it
but
at
they
times.
blend, yeah, that you blended them both together in a really complex way, which made things just really pretty. And there's a lot of really cool shots, like with the vampires too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a shot that stuck with me, and I think a few people have mentioned this online before, is where they all come out and like it's very dark, but you see their eyes, and they're
Mm-hmm.
all kind of
Love
different.
that. Yeah.
It was so good, and that's a shot like it's risky almost to do that kind of a shot because it can come off as really cheesy and kind of campy and like just it looks too dark for what they're trying to convey, but it was really just creepy and good. It was
Mm-hmm.
really awesome this time around.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think the eye shine more than anything was an interesting touch because it definitely made
Hmm.
the vampires feel more unworldly and predatory. It was
Hmm.
interesting that the lead vampire was the only one to have red eyes. Like
Yeah,
he's the one
yeah,
that's linking everyone together, and he's like the host, the hive. The They called him the devil at least once in the movie. Yeah.
sure,
But it's
yeah,
interesting that he has the red and everyone else has like the silver. But like that
yeah.
that eye shine was still really cool, just because
It was a cool effect.
yeah, the eye shine, they drool a little when they got hungry. It made them start looking like animals instead of just
Yeah,
like people with a vampiric curse. It was different. I liked the
yeah.
different of it.
The drool was just kind of like weird too. It
It's
was like
gross.
really kind of like thick looking,
Yeah, it
almost
was. It was.
like hair gel esque or something. I guess you'd say. Like
Hmm.
it made me think. Like I wonder if there's something to the like the degree of them like when like there maybe like a neurotoxin or something that like helps them like kind of
I think
sustain
it's.
their victims.
I think
You know,
it's.
kind
I
of
think
thing.
it's actually the virus that's the viral load is in there,
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
because I
yeah.
mean they turn real quick. They kill someone, and then
Very fast.
within an hour they're already up as a vampire again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very quick transition, which is different
Hmm.
from a lot of vampire lore. Even while this thing is like following other vampire lore really well,
Hmm.
so I
Hmm.
have to think that's like a viral load or something that's just
That
in
makes
there.
a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, without completely overanalyzing everything like we're absolutely going to do.
Of course, yeah. Well, I mean, why else are you here? Not to listen to it, right?
So let's just blabber on about a vampire movie, which
It was a good one.
it was a
It's a
very
good
good one. It's
one.
a really great
Yeah.
vampire movie. I definitely agree with you that I don't think it's a horror movie. It's a vampire thriller.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. It felt kind of almost like another movie we'd recently reviewed, Hard Eyes,
Yeah,
where
it's a
it
mashup.
was almost, but wasn't as well done as this
Oh no,
at
that
all.
night and day. Sinners is
Yeah,
like Academy Award prospect, and Hard
yeah.
Eyes was just fun. It was.
It,
I mean,
it
I
was a
own it.
fun
I
slasher
bought it
movie. Yeah,
recently. It's fun, but
but
I'll
like
watch it again. But
that, it feels like that's kind of like a way some genres are going now. Like that, let's
mhm.
like mainstream horror, like your Jason, your Freddy, your slasher movie, like they'll still be there, but like your horror is like not where it is now. It's almost like we got to have another movie and like give it horror elements, and like that works sometimes, but like this one is where it was pulled off in spades for
Mhm.
sure.
Mhm. It's. I think it's because we can't approach it necessarily as a horror movie. And
Hmm.
I think going in and expecting because it has vampires. I mean, it's a Southern black musical vampire movie, which is really weird. Period
Hmm.
piece, no less.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a lot of things mashed together. But I think don't approach it as a horror movie, even though it has vampires. I think we need to
Hmm.
approach it more as an African American movie because it has something else to say, and it's using the vampires not just as a horror element, but really as a
Yeah.
metaphor, which is
Yeah.
oftentimes when vampires work best, is when they're more than just being vampires.
Yep. In a world of allegory, this lays it on a little thick at times, but in a really good way.
Well, it's interesting because the main characters are all black for the most
Hmm.
part. There's a couple of Asian characters in there as well, but it's the 1930s and as they were. If you weren't,
Another repressed group of
yeah,
people
exactly.
point
If you weren't
a
white,
little on the nose.
then you were colored. That then I mean
Yes.
they even show a sign
Yes.
like white bathroom, colored bathroom at a train station. Like
Yeah.
they do label that there.
Yep.
So and the fact that the three vampires that we see, the first one who infects two, and then they go off and infect more,
Hmm.
are all white, and not just white, but like one of them's a Ku Klux Klan member that gets sucked into it. I think they're purposely hanging a hat on the fact that it's white versus black, but then at the same time, the master vampire, the guy with the red eyes, is
Hmm.
Irish, a different oppressed group at the time and
Yeah.
before because I think he says he's like 400 years old, and that means that
Something
he
like
was
that. Yeah.
oppressed for a very long time by the British.
Yeah, he saw some real
Some
oppression
real
too,
shit.
and not to shit on what these people have also gone through
No,
in their
yeah.
lifetime, but
No,
if
no,
someone's going
totally.
to try to compare themselves,
It's
you're
just
you're in the right hemisphere at
yeah.
least.
It's interesting because there are Ku Klux Klan members that the characters eventually fight against, and that racism is highlighted and made to show a different level of villain. But that's not the
Hmm.
vampire. The vampire is something else, and he's tapping into his own repression. He talks about building family, putting together
Yeah.
his own group, trying to create on Earth what he lost from the British. Like, there's a lot that you can infer there, and it makes
Hmm.
the villain something more than just white dude who kills black guys.
Yeah, yeah, and he was complex, and he was
Mm-hmm.
really an
Mm-hmm.
interesting character, and like he gave me like almost kind of Thanos and Infinity War vibes, because like you almost felt like he had a point at
He did.
times, and
That's
like
what makes a good
and,
villain.
anytime a villain can do that, you're like, damn, like when you're not quite sympathizing with them, but like the old like Chris Rock, I think it was like, I'm not saying I would have did it, but I understand.
Well,
like
that's what
that's a
makes
good way to put it.
it's what makes a villain more compelling to a certain extent
Yeah.
is when you actually understand where they're coming from. It's the problem I have with, like, let's say Jason, for example, is
Hmm.
past the first couple movies when they're done building his character and he just becomes basically the shape like Michael Myers is, then
Hmm.
it stops being a villain that you can connect to in any way or at least understand. I understood in the first movie why Mrs. Voorhees was killing camp counselors. I understand why Jason came back to kill them because that's the
Yeah.
thing. Michael Myers is a shape that's most effective in the first couple of movies as the shape, and the longer
Hmm.
they drag him out because they actually try to add backstory and it doesn't work with what we know about him, that ruins him too. But there is this sweet spot of understanding a villain and getting where
Hmm.
his background is from without it dragging out too long or becoming too rote. That makes a
Yep.
villain compelling. That's what works for this guy, this red shiny vampire, is that
Hmm.
we understand him just well enough that even though we don't want him to win, we kind of understand his perspective.
Yeah, and when a villain really kind of like believes in their cause, and like you're gonna get the megalomaniacs that believe in
Mm-hmm.
their cause, sure,
Mm-hmm.
but like when a guy can like come across almost like genuine, like you're like,
Mm-hmm.
damn, like this is a compelling character, and like you said, you almost want to root for him, but in the end, you want like you just want good to triumph over evil,
Mm-hmm.
and you're hoping that the right people make it out,
Mm-hmm.
because as you're going through the movie, there's a long time in this movie where you're getting to know these
Oh yeah,
characters,
it's over 2 hours. You're really
yeah,
learning about everyone.
you're
Yeah.
building connections here. So when you know like that from dusk till dawn moment is coming
Mm-hmm.
of the massacre, you're like you're gonna feel it when these people go. They're not just like random stats that you're checking off on a
Yeah.
body count.
Yeah, I think that's valid. Is that going back to that dusk till dawn moment? You care
Mhm.
so much about them because the first half of the movie is so richly detailed about these
Yep.
characters. It's part of the reason why I like From Dusk Till Dawn so much. Is that the first half, first 2 acts is a very detailed, almost Quentin Tarantino esque style crime caper. He did a
Mhm.
draft on it, and then Robert Rodriguez came in and did his stuff too. But in
Mhm.
this movie, Brian Coogler wrote it all. And he definitely had this idea that before the vampires show up and he uses them as an allegory for something, he needs to make
Mhm.
sure you connect with every single character that's about to show up in this movie. So everyone from like the main two brothers, Smoke and Stack, their
Mhm.
cousin, the piano player, the
Mhm.
ex-girlfriend who's half white, like
Mhm. Mhm.
all of them have just enough detail added to them that they mean something to you, so that when they
Yeah.
actually start getting picked off one by one, you feel bad. Because and it not just that you feel bad about their character, but you feel bad because you're like, oh wow, anyone can die in this film. Like
Yeah.
everyone's so richly, they're not fodder like in a slasher flick.
Yep. Yep. Like
Mm-hmm.
then from Dusk Till Dawn again, because we're the comparisons there
Mm-hmm.
in the style of movie. It's when spoiler for a 30-year-old movie at this point. It's when the younger brother goes, and
Yeah.
you're like, damn, like they really don't mind about killing kids in this
Nope.
movie.
Everyone, it's on the
So
table. Yep.
yeah, and
Yep.
and that's what makes a good story too, because you know that like you're gonna have your tropes that are gonna make it out of there. You're gonna have the one heroine or the hero that make it out. Maybe there's a couple, but like you can kind of tell there's a pattern, but you don't always feel for the other people along the way. So when you get a movie of build up and like you give a shit about the characters, it makes a compelling story even better, because you're like, damn, like Delroy Lindo, why? Why am I guy like that?
Well, it's like you compare it to a movie like Abigail, which came out early last year. And that's
Mhm.
another one that has almost a From Dusk Till Dawn moment. You have a crime caper at the start. They get to a mansion where they're supposed to hide out, and then suddenly, like a switch flips, monsters shows up, people start dying. And
Yeah.
but the difference is that movie purposely obscures the background of almost everyone, including the killer, so that you don't really connect with anyone because you can tell from the start that they're all just like I mean, almost Reservoir Dog style nameless killers that are just
Yeah.
there for the sake of it. They're fodder.
Yeah.
They don't matter. People in this movie matter. Like you want all of them to survive, and when a lot of them don't, you're like, no, I actually wanted to see them in a sequel.
Yeah. Yeah. And sequel, I mean, it
Yeah,
could happen
it
here.
could.
I would like to see, a little bit of the story of what happened, because, we're not going to spoil too much.
Mm-mm.
Some people do make it out in various ways. And I'd like to know how the
Mm-hmm.
rest of their interactions for life had gone. I'd
Mm-hmm.
like to know.
There's
I think
potential.
there's a cool story there.
Yeah, there's potential for a number of movies set between like certain decades that could be hinted at or followed up on, and different things that they could do. I
Hmm.
think there's also potential. There's an early sequence with the master vampire. He's being
Hmm.
pursued by Choctaw hunters, and
Hmm.
they seem like they are very good at their job and also just
Yeah.
cautious enough to not get caught in a trap. And
Hmm.
it's like I would love to see just a spin-off movie of them hunting vampires across the American West. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that's something that like I wish they came back
Hmm.
to, and like I
Hmm.
kind of forgot about some of the like as the movie progressed, but like
Hmm.
after like reviewing and thinking about it, like damn, that was a really cool plot point that
Really
I
good
like
point.
wish they could have came back to, but like you would have turned a really sweet like 2 hour 20-minute movie into like 3 hours, maybe a
Hmm.
slog and too
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
So I get it, but damn, that would have been cool.
I did keep waiting for them to show up in the last act to save the day, and
Yeah.
they didn't, and I understand
Mm.
why they didn't. It wasn't their movie. But at the same
Yeah.
time, just dropping them in there hints at a richer world, which I think was the point. But it also
Yeah.
does set up that, if there's push for a sequel, which I'm sure there will be. This movie has made gobs of money on a small budget.
Yeah,
Like,
it's doing
uh,
very well.
I really do expect that we'll see a movie at some point that's just about the Choctaw Hunters doing their thing, or they'll get
Mhm.
tied into something, or there'll be something else going on. Like, I would love to see them come back because they seemed really interesting.
And like to your point, they really they kind of knew what was going on. They
Mm-hmm.
could even tell that where they, where they're chasing the vampire, like, oh, these people really aren't safe either. But you
Mm.
know what? I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
enemies amongst each other, y'all have fun.
A, a
It's
human is
kind of
less of an
cool.
issue to hunt at that point
Yeah,
than the vampire they're actually going after. There's not different a bunch of different like monsters of the West that they could hunt from, Wendigo and skinwalkers and stuff.
chupacabra, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
there'd be a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
really cool things. I'd be like,
yeah,
yes, please, just give me
yeah.
them hunting monsters. That would be great.
What an interesting thought that is to franchise and series off the Choctaw spiritual hunters or something, and there's a couple different movies. We can get 15 years of a franchise in
Hell
here pretty
yeah,
easily.
hell
I
yeah.
mean, not this we can find definitely 5-6 movies out of that.
All of it reverting to Ryan Coogler in a few years because he negotiated a
Yes,
contract to eventually own this movie. Smart on him. Good job.
yeah, that's great. We talk a lot on this show sometimes about business decisions.
Yep.
That was a good business decision.
Sweet, sweet chef kiss business decision. Yeah, that
Yeah.
like the Pacha meme.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, so I appreciate everything that this movie did. I don't see a lot of flaws in it. Like the biggest flaw
Right.
I think about the movie is that it is at its core a very basic vampire movie. That's if you strip
Sure.
away all the nuance and the hour of character development and everything else. It's
Yeah. The
not.
world,
Yeah,
the colorfulness. Yeah.
the movie is richly developed in its characters
Mhm.
and its setting and everything else. Its story is
Basic.
unbelievably basic. Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
because
At its core.
it's not really a plot movie, it's a character movie, and I think we
Mhm.
sometimes focus too much on one over the other. This movie is
Mhm.
very well written while having a
Right.
very basic story.
Well, one can kill the other, though. You can
Yeah.
have a lot of really great actors and a really
Hmm.
shit story, and you
Yeah.
can have a really great story and a lot of shit actors. And this was
Hmm.
a nice meld of just enough famous with
Hmm.
the people that showed up. Your Michael B. Jordan, your Delroy Lindos, people that okay, there's some quality acting here. And the one who stole the show really was kind of the cousin,
Hmm.
and I believe
His
this is
first
his
movie,
first acting role.
first anything, yeah, because he was found on a
What?
talent show and that was it, and he killed
Killed
it.
it, killed it, and
Absolutely killed it.
yeah, I was very impressed. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I want more of that story too. I want to see
Mm-hmm.
that character as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
there's a lot. No, the movie is a easily a 9.5 for me. It's almost A
Yeah,
plus perfect, which is hard for me to say because very rarely. Like I would like maybe just a slightly more twisty plot if I'm really being nitpicky about it, but that only
right.
holds it back so far because it's so good on everything
Yeah,
else. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Like
Hmm.
this is up there 9.5, 9.3, 9.6. Take your
Hmm.
your crooked number somewhere in there. Like this was very very
Very
good.
good. Yeah.
Characters were really well developed. Actors did a great job. The music was good.
Hmm.
The villain was compelling. There's just enough trash people in here where you're glad when they went too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was good. It's just all around really good, solid movie. And nowadays, it's kind of missing from time to time. You try to be too much of one thing. This stayed in a perfect
Hmm.
lane.
And ended perfectly, like in a very
Yeah.
satisfying way. Don't
Yep.
don't mess with it. The ending is good too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And don't leave before the
Hmm.
credits are over. I
Hmm.
know there's, people are used to the whole after credit thing and been here, done that. I'll just read what it's about on, whatever the next day
No,
and beat the
it's hard.
traffic. Stay,
Yeah, the emotions
stay
are
for
good in
this
that
one.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, like and the movie has good gore. Even
yeah.
if it's not as scary as some might think. Like my wife asked me if it was scary, and I'm like, well, I didn't really think so, but there is some gore. She's like, well, some of the ladies at my knitting club said it was really scary. I'm like, well, they're probably just not horror fiends like we are.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I can see this.
scary
I
some.
it's scary some, and a movie I guess maybe that also had a lot of success several years ago.
Hmm. Yeah.
That was scary
Hmm.
compared to a movie like this, which is in the
Hmm.
same
Hmm.
vein of horror and spooky clown, spooky vampire. But yes, scary, but not that.
This
you know,
is
a different kind.
this is scary in the way like Dracula or Blackula
Yeah,
or Vampire in Brooklyn is scary. It has
yeah.
moments, but it's not really scary.
It plays more off of like scary at an emotional level than at
Mm-hmm.
like a primal
Mm-hmm.
fear kind of level, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes any sense, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely not an Oculus though. That is a that's a deeply disturbing movie.
Fuck your head right there, Jesus Christ.
This has been Not So Live from Asteroid G, getting drunk on Irish whiskey. I'm your host, Mike Finkelstein.
Your buddy Mike the Ghoul gonna go sell his soul to learn how to play the guitar like that guy now.
So good.
Really, really good.
We will see you all next time.